Hey guys, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. Got a Pro Tools tutorial video for you today on the 4 edit modes in Pro Tools. These are the 4 little buttons over here in the top left of your edit window in Pro Tools. And this doesn't matter what version of Pro Tools you're using. These modes have been around from the early days, and they're kind of a staple, a core of how you work in Pro Tools. So I just wanted to quickly go over these 4 modes so you understand what they are and how they can help you, especially since 2 of them are kind of bizarre and you may not find yourself using them very often. I want you to at least know what they can do because they might come in handy. Now, the first mode that many of us are familiar with is slip mode. Slip mode over here on the left in the green is your standard kind of selecting mode. What it means is that you can select any piece of audio or MIDI or anything in Pro Tools, whether you are dragging or dropping, whether you're cutting or moving, that it's going to move fluidly, i.e. slip in and out of time, not fixed to a grid or time value, okay? So this is if you want to eyeball something, click and drag, go to town, okay? Use your mouse. The other mode that most of us are using is grid mode. Grid mode is the opposite of slip. It forces your selection or your movement in Pro Tools to lock to whatever your grid value is, okay? Now, what determines the grid value? This little area up here says grid. The grid is always on. When I clicked it on or off, it just shows you the grid lines behind it. But to the right is a drop-down menu that you're telling Pro Tools what should the grid be locked to. Should it be locked to bars and beats? Which most of the time, that's where I leave it because I'm working in music. I'm not really working in minutes and second chunks. I don't really care how long a chunk is in time. I care how long it is musically speaking, how many measures, how many bars. So bars and beats, you could use that. And then do I want it to just be a bar, right? That means if I click and drag, it won't select anything until, bam, till I get close to the edge of the bar. Because it's saying, nope, you can only select in bar chunks. But that's very helpful if you're doing quick arranging or composing, songwriting. You can grab, a few bars and you can cut and move them around, and you're going to lock to the bars and the beats, and you're not going to lose things in or out of time. That's really cool. And then, of course, you can slip down to 32nd notes, 64th notes. So a very small chunk of time, but still it is a fixed grid. It helps keep your editing nice and tidy. This is why it's really helpful to record to a click track. Whether you edit things to the click hard or soft, just recording to a click means that your audio in Pro Tools is going to line up with a grid value. And that can be very helpful for copying and pasting. If you found a better vocal take later in the song, you could copy that and move it to this section that you like, knowing that it's going to line up perfectly in time because it is matching up with the bars and the beats, right? So grid mode, pretty simple. Now, shuffle and spot mode, these are the 2 big modes that we rarely find ourselves using in the audio world. You might be using them more often in the post-production or video world. It really depends on how you use Pro Tools and what you use it for. I want to show you shuffle because I find it actually a very helpful tool in music, especially in songwriting. Shuffle basically doesn't matter what you have selected. By default, it's a slip selection. So if you want a hard bar and beat, you want to be in grid first and select first and then go to shuffle. But what shuffle does is literally it shuffles things around. Let me show you what I mean. I've got a song here and I've got a bridge. Let's take a listen.
Glory to God in the highest, oh. Glory to God in the highest. The angels sing. Glory to God in the...
Okay, so the bridge is there, the drums are happening, the singing comes in right away. Let me bring in some of the rest of my other tracks. Let's say that I like that bridge, but I wanted actually to insert 2 bars of instrumental. Like I want the bridge riff to come in with the drums hitting the toms and the guitar real lazy, but I don't want the singing to come in just yet. I could just delete some of the singing, but that would delete it. I don't want to delete it. I just want to shift it to the right. And naturally, if you were going to do that without shuffle mode, you would have to select all your tracks with the all group, let's say, and you could select the song, you could cut it, paste it a little bit further down, and then you could copy some of the instrumental and fill in the gap, right, to extend your song. But it's a little cumbersome to do it that way. And Pro Tools allows you to use shuffle mode, which can easily squeeze in a little bit extra audio. So for instance, I can select in grid mode to make sure I'm getting the solid grid. I'm going to select 2 bars here, the first 2 bars of the bridge.
Glory to God.
And then I'm going to go to shuffle mode, and I'm going to use the Command D keyboard command, which duplicates whatever I've selected. So this will normally copy this, paste it just to the right. In a normal mode, it would paste over whatever's to the right for 2 bars. But in shuffle mode, it's going to shift this to the right and squeeze in a duplicate. Okay, now let me zoom out so you can see what I did. If I undo that, you're going to see the end of my song shift left a little bit. You see that? I'm going to redo my duplicate, undo it, redo it, undo it. So literally all shuffle mode has allowed me to do is to copy something, duplicate it, but it was not going to cover over anything. It's going to shift whatever's to the right. So it extended my bridge, which is great because if I get out of my all group and let's say I select the singing, mute it at the beginning, delete this additional guitar strum, and maybe mute the gang vocals here at the beginning. In essence, I've created 2 bars of an instrumental while keeping the full bridge to the right of it. Let's take a listen. And now the bridge comes in.
Glory to God in the highest. Oh, glory to.
And my whole 8 bars of the bridge is still there. So you see what I did? It just literally shuffled things around, which is really, really cool. It can literally keep things butted up next to each other, audio regions or clips, but if you drag one around the other, it will literally shuffle it to a new area. Like if I select this bass line and click and drag, it only allows me to place it at the end of the rest of the bass line, and it's going to swap places. Okay, it moved it to the right and shuffled this to the left. I can do the same thing here. So shuffle mode can also be helpful if you have some loops or parts of your song and you want to select them and rearrange your song in a different order. Move a chorus around, move a bridge around, move one bar of a bass line somewhere else. It can flip-flop, move things around, and as long as you select in grid mode and then go to shuffle mode, that can be really, really cool. Shuffle mode. And then the other mode that I rarely use is called spot mode, but you need to know what it is. It's really a way to tell a piece of audio in Pro Tools to go to a specific place. And that may or may not be useful for you. If you're in spot mode and you click, let's say this bass line, the moment I even click it, it brings up this dialog and says, okay, where do you want this audio to go? Clearly you're trying to move it somewhere and you're in spot mode. It's at bar 48 currently. But let's say we want it to go to bar 61. Click OK. It moved it from there to bar 61, right? Now, why is that helpful to you? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I never use this mode in music day to day, but I have used it in the past when I have accidentally deleted some audio regions. Let's say, let me rename this bass line here. I'll rename it bridge bass. Let's say I accidentally deleted that and I didn't have these surrounding regions, okay? Because if I had the surrounding regions, I could drag them back. Let's say I know that I have that piece of audio in my bin somewhere. Let's see, bridge bass, right? Here it is. And I can drag it in, but I don't know where it goes, right? Let's say I didn't know where the bridge was, I didn't have any markers, or I wasn't sure what part of the bridge this was actually. If I delete it and I go into spot mode, I can click and drag bridge base, but it's going to say, okay, where do you want it to be spotted to? I don't know, but I can pull the original timestamp, meaning literally the place that it was originally recorded. Click this arrow, which moves the timestamp up to the start point. Bam, it locks it into the bridge. Pretty darn cool. Okay, so spot mode, it tells audio to go where you want it to go, and you can use things like user timestamps to lock it in to a specific place that it was originally recorded. So those are the 4 edit modes that I'm using in Pro Tools all day long, and if you're in Pro Tools, no matter which version, 8, 9, and 10 is going to look like this. Some of the older versions, the buttons look slightly different, but they're in the same place. It's the same concept. Know them, use them well. They will help you out tremendously as you are editing in Pro Tools. I hope that helps, guys. Again, this is Graham over at the recordingrevolution.com. We'll see you on a later video.